What's going on, people, and welcome back to a new player versus player. Today we've got Zidane versus Iniesta, so shout out to everyone that got involved in the poll, and this one was the most popular, so let's get into it. Goals first up. In terms of the numbers, Zidane takes it with 156, and Iniesta only had 102, so quite a one-sided display of numbers there for goals for Zidane. And I also base this off of goals that I remember as well. And I actually do remember more Zidane goals that stick out in my head. Specifically that Madrid one in the final against Leverkusen, left-footed volley, and the free kick against England in the Euros. So obviously the 98 World Cup stuff. So goals, Zidane. Finishing, just in terms of their technique, their accuracy, deadliness around the box. I think you've got to give it to Zidane again. I love Iniesta. He's one of my favourite players, but he was more of a kind of a playmaker. He could chip in with his goals, but he was more of a playmaker. I think Zidane for the finishing, probably. Heading, again, Zidane, especially in the 98 World Cup, it sticks out. Iniesta, I don't know if he probably did score the odd header, but none that I remember in my head. So for heading, it's got to be Zidane. Pace, neither of these were known for. Both more technical players. Probably edged pace to Iniesta, but neither of them really had it. Technique, first touch, control, tight spaces, things like that. Technique for passing, etc. I think Iniesta was very underrated in this aspect. I don't think it gets looked upon enough in his career when people think of him. But Zidane was different with it. He is one of the few players that I feel like he created his own technique. It looked like he did ballet on the ball, and it looked effortless. So I think Iniesta definitely would win a lot of these matchups against other players, but Zidane was a different calibre, and I think he has to have it for technique. Positioning, very arguable and debatable for this one. I think Zidane, obviously, in clutch moments has turned up big in his career for people, especially in like finals and that, but Iniesta has had his moments as well. I'm going to give this one to Zidane, but I could see it be a debatable factor for that. Strength, Zidane. I feel like Iniesta was clever, he was agile, and he was probably pretty strong for his size, but I think Zidane, I didn't see him get sort of pushed off the ball a lot. He was quite a big guy and used his height. I look at strength and think of these two guys, I definitely see it more in Zidane. Agility, very tough because, like I said, Zidane had that effortless, sort of nonchalant, almost like he's walking with a ball agility. Like, he was quick in his head, so he didn't have to be in his body, but he also had a bit of like quick feet, but he was more smooth with it. Whereas I think Iniesta in tight spaces, it's definitely something he just worked upon and got better and better and better. And I think in tight spaces and stuff, when I think of agility, I'd probably edge it to Iniesta, but I could see why people would say Zidane as well. Leadership, Iniesta kind of moulded into that role later on in his career, but I feel like Zidane, both of these guys weren't like very vocal at all. Zidane, over his career and what I've seen of him, I think he led in his own way better than Iniesta did. For this category alone, I have to give it to Zidane for leadership. Presence is a very debatable one and tough. I can imagine being intimidated by Iniesta in all them years against Barcelona and Spain. But Zidane, again, I feel like he almost had a god-like presence to him when he was playing. I think Iniesta was getting up there, but I feel like Zidane, he's just one of them few lifetime players that you get to witness and see. Zidane has to get it on presence. Teamwork, tricky one. Zidane was more of an individual in this sense in terms of big game moments and delivering for his team. Iniesta did it in a different way, more as a collective for his team. I'm going to give this one to Iniesta, but I could see why people would give it to Zidane. It depends on how you look on it, but teamwork, I'll give it to Iniesta. Trophies, Zidane only ended up with 13, which is not a lot for someone of his level and his skill and the ability he had. He should have won a lot more. And Iniesta finished with 38. So in terms of the sheer numbers, and just giving respect to Iniesta on all them years at Barcelona, what he won with Spain as well, you have to give it to Iniesta for trophies. I was quite shocked to learn, though, that Zidane had only won that many, because you'd expect it to be way more up there for someone of his talent and ability and what he could do. In career, when you look back on it, Zidane, most of his years at Madrid, I know he was at Juventus for a while. I probably remember him more for France than I do for Madrid or Bordeaux or Juventus, if I'm honest. Decent career, probably didn't fulfill it completely with, like, the example with the trophies. Wonderful player, one of the best on the eye I've ever seen. It's a shame he didn't win more. He does get his respect, but I don't feel like he always gets his respect like he should. But maybe that's because of the trophies and stuff. Probably should have won more at Madrid with that Galacticos team, but it's not just on him. Career kind of died out on the international scene with that headbutt for France, but he was a brilliant player. And he's gone on to be a fantastic coach as well. So, very good career. But I think if you're looking at it with a critical eye and honesty, you have to give career to Iniesta. The amount of stuff he won with Barcelona and Spain, La Masia, all that history, I don't think it's close with Correa. I think Iniesta achieved a lot more, fulfilled his potential more, probably, for the trophies he won, and just had a better career overall. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Iniesta for career. So it's all been added up. Zidane finished with 8 and Iniesta finished with 5. So pretty close. I wasn't sure how it was going to end up. Iniesta's one of my favourite players, like, forever. I think I don't feel like he gets his props as much as he probably should. I feel like Xavi probably gets more than he does, and I always thought that he edged Xavi, even though they were different players. So both these guys, some of my all-time favourites, and it was an exciting matchup. Very interested to see how it turned out, and it was pretty close. So Zidane 8, Iniesta 5. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back soon.